Okay, I'm ready.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening to all of you. This is Gohar Sharif live with one of our distinguished guests, Miss Margo Abdul Aziz. And today we, in this Coffee with Gohar, going to talk to Miss Margo Abdul Aziz. Margo Abdul Aziz is the director of International School Choueifat, Lahore. She is from the academia, and she is a philanthropist and a visionary. Welcome to the show, Miss Margo. How are you?
Thank you, Gohar, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction with so many words, which I definitely don't deserve, but they make me feel good. So I'm looking very much forward to our chat, to our conversation, and thank you very much for inviting me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Indeed, it's a privilege and a pleasure to talk to you in Coffee with Gohar. So let's start with our typical questions, and that is about your early childhood and from the very start of Margo Abdul Aziz as a child. Where were you born, Margo?
I was born in Warsaw, in Poland. It's a capital of Poland. It's a quite important country. In historical, political, economic, and social terms, in the center of Europe. It's on the crossroads between the East and West. We had a tendency to drift towards the West most. And in the last, I think, 15 years, when we became a member of the European Union and also a member of the Schengen group, obviously this Western influence also grew and is very popular, particularly among the younger generation, younger people. They have a better opportunities, better movement, different possibilities of type of education because they move between the 27 countries. So there's a lot of positive thing. I was born in the capital in a family which also has got close family members in the other countries. We were in UK, we were in Australia, we were also in the United States. Some of our family moved there. So we were from what I can remember as a child. There were always family member guests from abroad. So, I used to get very nice gifts, but I also used to listen to stories of a different life.
Right.
Foods, okay. They were even, of course, we both were in a Western clothes, but their Western clothes were different than the one in Poland. At that time. I definitely, I'm the only child. I was definitely very much close to two women in my family, my mother and my grandmother. And I think they made the strongest mark from the very beginning on my life. With things like being independent, being responsible, being responsible with the consequences. They were very, very powerful and very influential in my life. I never had a very strong relationship with my father. Variety of reasons, somehow we did not click as a bond between the daughter and the father, as you may think it should be. As I'm saying, mother and grandmother were the ones who basically had an influence for myself. When I was about 8.5, 9 years old, and there was a difficult situation in Poland. They decided to send me to Australia when I had my grandmother from my father's side, and I have my uncle, his brother, and of course, my aunt was British, and I had my cousin who wasn't like a sister, since from that moment we were raised together. So I was going to the public school because that's what one could afford it. Later on, for the senior side, I was moved into the UNESCO school with English language, and other subjects on much higher level to prepare me for the university. That was the time when I started to be rebellious. I guess influence of my cousin, whom I call the sister. She's 3 years older than I am, but she said, well, let's do this, let's go out this one, let's sneak out for this. And I was younger, and she definitely was having the impression on me. So, I was a very faithful follower, put it this way.
So you were the partner.
Side of it.
You were the partner in crime.
Exactly. But the bad side was that all the consequences I had to take when we were caught by my uncle, her father, it wasn't Tina. It was Gosha. They called me Gosha. That was Gosha. She was the one, there is no question about it. So I was, so that made me even more rebellious, I said, no, next time, I go this way, they're not going to find out, and etc., etc. But of course, the certain moment comes when you start to change, because usually for the Christmas vacation, they would send me to Poland, to the family, to my parents, and I would spend 6 weeks of a summer vacations, what was in Australia, in there. And with different type of my cousins, I was the only girl in the family. They're all boys. Again, the relationship, the culture, that was different, and I was a little bit more of a calming down. They were more into going to the movies, reading, discussing the things, different opinions. Right. So it was different atmosphere.
Okay.
And then I went back, and then I went to the college, to the university, as we all do. But I made sure that I will be as far away of the family as possible. So we lived in Perth in Western Australia, and I went to Sydney to make sure that they cannot visit me very often.
And they cannot catch you doing something undesirable.
Something I shouldn't be doing. Okay. So that was the start.
Okay, great. So you in Western Australia, you went to college, you studied there. So at that point in time, what was your thoughts in like taking a career choice? What was going through your mind as a college student? What you will be doing, and which profession you will be taking?
Actually, it started when I was, I think I was, 14 or 15 years old or something like that. I wanted to be a doctor, medical doctor. Okay. So you know how it is in the schools in the West. Sometimes they take you to the places, to the places of possible professions, So they took me to me and other students who wanted to also pursue medical careers. They took me to the hospital, and And after, I don't know, it was a very short period of time. I don't want to say 5 minutes, but maybe it was 10 minutes. And I said, no way, no way I can be a surgeon. I wanted to be a surgeon. I can't be a surgeon. I can't be, there was too much of the suffering of the people, which actually bothered me a lot, affected me
Okay.
emotionally a lot. And I couldn't
Okay.
handle it emotionally.
Right.
So the next thing I thought that maybe I will go to into teaching, okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
become the teacher. It didn't work very well because they took me again, to those younger kids, and I said, I can't handle those monkeys, I'm not gonna teach them anything, that's not really my way. And I remember I had a summer job in the office of Alan Bond, who was at that time a big publisher, newspaper publisher.
Right.
In
Okay.
Australia. And I had a stupid summer job, as a switchboard operator, sitting on the switchboard operator and
Okay.
earning some money, as a, this 17, 18-year-old. And at one point he came and he said, well, he started chatting with me, my cousin already worked with him as a special assistant. So he was sort of familiar then, and he said, he was asking me this question, where is your career? What would you like to do? And he asked me a very interesting question. He said, well, what are your aspects of the character? And I remember I almost immediately responded to him. I said, I like people. I like to be around the people. And he started to laugh. He said, well, you like to be a little dictator with the people. And I said, well, not a dictator. I like working with the people, not by myself.
Right.
Okay. And then he said, well, so why don't you go into management, into business administration? Because sooner or later, if you have a career in there, you'll end up as a junior manager, and maybe something more. Who knows? So, so that's
Right.
how I chose the field. And I have to say that minus math and statistics, I just loved it. I loved my college years. I enjoy the learning, discovery, again, working in a group on the case studies and this kind of it was just something really which appealed to me, engaged me, and I was a very good student because of that.
Great. So you went through college, you graduated, and then you went into practical life. So what was your first job look like? Like, how do you reflect upon that, the learnings you had as a fresh graduate, you went into so how do you see those hours learnings from that?
I think it might maybe sounds a little bit naive, but I think I was very lucky. When I graduated, I went back to Poland. I actually went. At that time, I didn't know if it's gonna be a visit or I'm gonna stay. Poland was like a foreign country to me. My language wasn't very strong because the whole education was coming from the Sunday school in a church once a week. So you can imagine, you know, how rusty one
Right.
can be linguistically.
Right.
At home,
Right.
all
Right.
the time it was English, only with my granny in Australia,
Right.
who absolutely refused to learn any word of English. She just refused it. Okay, she
Right.
and I we spoke in Polish. So I didn't know what I'm gonna do. And then one day, my grandfather said, "Listen, a friend of mine is approached me and said, listen, if your granddaughter would like to apply, they have a position at the American Embassy in Warsaw in the cultural office, okay,
Okay.
as a cultural assistant to the cultural attaché."
Okay. Cool.
And I did apply. I did
Okay.
apply, and I went for the interview. I remember it was a winter. It was
Okay.
a winter, cold day. He called me in the afternoon. It was dark and everything, you know, and I was sitting in his office. We're friends up to now. His name is Ambassador Robert Gossendi.
Okay.
He was a cultural attaché at that time in Warsaw. And I think, you know, my interview was less than 10 minutes. And then
Okay.
he said, okay, let's give it a try. For you and I work together. And he says, when can you start? And I, without thinking, you know how the young people
Right.
I said, well, I can start tomorrow. Because I was hoping that he will say, well, maybe, you know, in a week, couple of weeks, you know, and this kind of thing. And he looked at me and he said, okay, so I see you 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Great.
And that's how I started.
Okay.
I started with that. I worked with the embassy for a couple of years with him in Warsaw. And then each time, every year for 2 or 3 times a year, I was going to the U.S. to the State Department for the training, for the further training, you know, career development, and also looking for the contacts, you know, for the matching, you know, American with the Polish contacts, you know, back in Poland, and this kind of thing. And at that time, I met my ex-husband, who is Egyptian American. And after a while, we decided to get married, and I moved to Egypt. But
okay.
I got a
Beautiful
transfer.
place.
I
It's a
moved to
beautiful
Egypt,
place.
to the American Embassy in Egypt, to the regional job on the number of countries, including in the Northern America and in the Middle East and Levant. And we were working on a special project for the youth, in the government schools, which are boys only at that age. You know, in the secondary schools in Egypt, in the public sector, the genders are separated. There are schools for girls and schools for boys. And we are conducting a project from the USAID money on connecting youth in the different countries, connecting them over the internet on a common projects, common understanding projects. Okay,
Right.
they will choose that team and they will work it on it, and you know, for the projects were really very, very serious. It was something very similar, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Seeds of Peace project in the United States. There was something similar when the youth of the different countries coming online and working together, developing understanding of each other, appreciation of each other, and then taking the project, global projects, and trying to look for the solutions. You know, it was extremely exciting, you know, to see, you know, Egyptian students working with the Palestinian students, working with the students in the United States. Okay, I mean, totally different cultures, you know. Then it always took a time for them to really understand each other, because, you know, the way of thinking, the way of looking at the certain aspects of the project were coming from totally different perspectives. And they had to, of course, we were training them. We were training them on public speaking. We were training them on conflict resolution, on presenting their point, you know. So there was a training, but nevertheless, you know, they had to develop those skills on their own.
Right.
So, and at one point, you know, I decided to go back and work, because Ambassador Gosendi moved to the United States. He was our ambassador in Somalia. He went back to the States, and he became the Vice Chancellor of the State University of New York. And he offered me a job as a director for Turkey and Egypt programs out of SUNY. So I grabbed this opportunity and I moved back to the United States. I hope we did not. I think we froze again. I think we froze again.
Can you hear me, Dr. Gohar Sir? Gohar Sir, we can't hear you. I think Gohar Sir has lost his connection. Miss Margo, I think he'll join back.
Okay, I'm patient.
Yeah, so we will wait for like few minutes. Let me get connected to Gohar on WhatsApp. Give me a few seconds.
What we will do, this recording, Mr. Muazzam, this recording has to be, you know, adjusted, so we don't have those breaks.
Yes, Miss Margo. I'll combine the recording, Miss Margo.
How is it going? What do you think? How is it going?
Excellent, excellent, wonderful, Miss Margo, and very interesting at the same time. Only the difference is that Gohar is like having a Starbucks coffee. That's the only difference.
That's not fair. That's not fair. That we hold against him.
Definitely. So let's wait for him, because he hasn't joined again. Oh, he's back.
He's back. Okay.
Yeah.
But he's on mute, so we have to unmute him.
Yeah. Gorsa, please unmute yourself.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Here we are. Welcome
Margo?
back. Yes,
Yeah,
welcome back.
So I have put the recording on pause. So I will again start recording. You have to start when you said you were planning to go back to Poland, something like this.
Okay, well, so repeating basically. Okay, well, when I went back to Poland,
just hold on. Yes, Miss Margo.
So let's go back to Poland. You know, I went back to Poland. I was not sure what I'm gonna be doing. Will I be staying there? Where I will be moving, if I will be moving. And just one evening, my grandfather said, well, you know, a friend of mine just told me that there is a very interesting opening at the US Embassy in Warsaw. And your granddaughter should apply for it. So I did the next day. I almost immediately received the invitation for the interview. And on the very dark Polish winter day, I went to the US Embassy, and the position was of a cultural assistant. So it's a very basic, you know, startup position in the embassy.
Yeah,
you know.
Ms. Margo. Yeah, this is the part we have already recorded.
Okay.
So you have to start from when you were in embassy in Egypt, a US embassy in Egypt, and you were working there on the special program for youth.
So actually, it's a fake one. It's a tea. But
Yes. Okay. Yes, Miss Margo. Let's start with a question.
Let's start. Let's move somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So you have you were born in Eastern Europe, then you studied in Australia, then you worked in America, you worked in Middle East, and then now you are in Pakistan for last 7-8 years. You have lived across, I think, the whole globe or worked together along that. You have seen Europe, you have seen America, Australia, Middle East, Africa, Europe, and Asia now. How do you see success? What is success? How do you define success?
This is the question I ask very often to my own students and to my staff. So it's quite interesting. I think, you know, success is such a extremely, it's like a coin with two sides. One side is a very personal.
Right.
And it will differ from person to person. That may be some similarity. The other side is what the society perceived as individuals at this particular person's success. And they're not always the same. They're not always the same. I think, you know, in my case, many in society may perceive what I've done in my life up to now, and having this position I have now, that I am a woman of success. However, for me, on this other side, success only means, and I can call it success, if I do something meaningful, if I leave a mark, if I give something to the people. Because success is not the outcome per se, it's also what it gives you as an emotional satisfaction, courage, sense of helping and giving someone possibility of moving forward, That's something
Right.
which for me is a part of success. If I don't have it, um, then it is basically meaningful into this. Um, I think in my case, success came, let's still use this word success, came a hard way,
Right.
a very hard way.
Right.
Um, I always faced challenges.
Right.
And most of those challenges I was never prepared for.
Right.
So you will ask, well, so how did you how did you overcome them? Many of those challenges ended up in the failures.
Right.
And that was the best lesson. If you are in such a situation and you have the ability of being humbled,
Yeah, exactly.
don't beat yourself. Oh my God, why did I do that? I could have done it better. You know, why is it
Yeah,
happening to me? Why not to somebody else? But when you sit
exactly.
down
Exactly.
quietly, start thinking about it, start reflecting. Why did it happen? What were the factors which contributed to it? And
Yes.
why did I miss those factors?
Right.
What could I do better next time that I will not do it? That I will look at the issue, at the problem, at the task in such a way that I will have this 360-degree view, and most probably the possibility of an error or a mistake will be much lesser or maybe completely zero. So that's one point of that.
Great. Yes, Miss Margo.
So you know, the second part of importance of being successful is to have the mentors, is to have the person with whom you can sit down and openly say, listen, I did this, this, and that. Help me to figure it out. How can I do it better? And we will have a
Right.
discussion.
Right.
He will
Right.
point me out into the, you know, you missed this, you did not see that.
Right.
And also to have a mentor who at one point, having a trust in you, will basically through you to me.
Right.
I remember I went with a colleague of mine who was mentor. Amazing guy. Again, we're very close friends up to now. Um, and we together went to the which annually takes place in the United States for the English teaching educators.
Right. Right.
Teachers, you know, book writers, you know, curriculum developers, program specialists, whoever, but all connected with English language. And I look at him and I said, you must be kidding. Present what? At that time, we were we were in a process of conducting a new, and the program of the conference had uh, work in progress, whatever we want. And I said to myself, okay, if he thinks I can do it, right? Well, what I did not suspect is that would be that hall with over 2,000 people. And I will be alone on the stage with all the lights on me, and I see nothing, Gohar, except, total blackness, not even a single face. And this 20 minutes probably was like an eternity to me, never ending. My throat was so dry, my mouth was so dry that I was worried that my English is not, going as it's properly could go. But I managed it to the very end.
Great.
And this is what mentoring is, the trust.
Right, indeed.
Because from that moment, I became so confident that almost every year, I was presenting a paper. I was invited to the panels.
Great.
He gave, through his confidence in me and trust in me, he gave me the opportunity to grow, to show that I can go from one step to another, to the third, to the fourth, and to the fifth, whatever it might be. And I think a mentoring doesn't matter on which stage of your career you are. I think that the CEOs should have the mentors as well. Someone from the outside who can see from a different perspective and who can help you to lead, to make a better decisions, or maybe to involve the different people in the decision-making process. So mentoring is extremely as a part of what we all.
Great.
And one thing, Gohar, if I may add to it, because I think it's very important. If you at one point achieve the success and you feel that you have it, make sure that it does not go to your head, that it does not become part of your ego. Because
very important.
That could be a very, very tragic thing happening, that instead of doing a good things, you will start making both decisions, and your attitude towards people will change so badly that your leadership will suffer.
Indeed. Your feet should be always on the ground and vision high, but firmly planted. Yes, indeed. And with the roots in the ground, you can go places. But if you lose your sense of balance, then you will lose everything in a very short time, I'm sure. Okay, Margo, now coming to the end of the program. You are the director of International School Choueifat, and you are heading a schooling system which is in many different countries of the world, and you are connected to them through this fraternity of scholars and academia experts, subject matter experts. How do you see these new challenges in wake of COVID-19? This online classes, are they beneficial? And if so, to what extent?
Well, I will be probably in growing group, I think. The more the pandemic lasts longer, teachers and educators on the ground, I think it started to change. And we're all realizing one thing: online learning, let it be learning in the schools or let it be professional development, it's gonna stay with us after pandemic. It's gonna
Right.
stay. The phones
Right.
will be different. We'll be using it for different aspects as a resource to help to enrich face-to-face learning in the classroom, but it's gonna stay. I also predict that when it comes to the universities, face-to-face in most of the countries, particularly developed countries, face-to-face will disappear. It will be hybrid. Some classes face-to-face, maybe small seminars, maybe tutorials with the professors, but the rest of it will be assignments and everything else will be done online. I think that after a year, the first part of going online was definitely challenging. Challenging because Pakistan was not prepared for it as majority of the countries in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
We also face the issue of the not much developed infrastructure, internet speed, etc., etc. When it comes to Choueifat, when it comes to Sabes, we were ready. We were starting training and preparation in 2015. Look at the vision of the leadership here. Okay.
Great.
We here in Lahore, we trained the teachers for online delivery a year before the pandemic. So
Great.
when March 2020 came and decision was closed the schools, we look at ourselves and says, no. We close the building of the school, but not the learning. Learning will go on. It will go on in a different way. That, you know, teachers sometimes are able to teach from the classrooms in the school, sometimes directly from home, depending on the health situation. Students also can come for hybrid if it's possible, or stay at home. Doing very well. We're now having grade 11, grade 12 matriculation exams online. The AP exams coming in 2 or 3 weeks will be online. That we as an ISC Lahore, by many people and specialists, we considered very successful because we had the vision, our leadership had the vision and prepared for it. Prepared for it before it was coming. We never thought about the pandemic. We were going to have this kind of a learning, or partially, more of a hybrid, without the pandemic even. We already, in 2015, we already had ebooks. We've forgotten about printed books material.
Great.
So you could see that what the educational leadership, policymakers need all over the world, need to do is plan for unplanned, for something either which can hit us without warning, or because we want to move type of learning to the new era, to the new generation, which is talking already about artificial intelligence, etc., etc. That old-fashioned education will not provide them with the skills for the new process. You may give them the knowledge, but if you don't give them the tools, the skills, how to apply this knowledge, then education. And another thing which online, in my opinion, also after the year of watching it contributed, is there is a more collaboration, more bonding between the school and so
yes, Miss Margo.
as from what I said, you know, I see this huge, huge, huge potential, which we need also make sure that the parents understand and the policymakers understand that a lot of finances, training needs to go into online education, both at the school levels and the university levels. Okay. This is, we can't now say, oh, pandemic will finish and we will go back to the classroom. Yes, we will, but it will be a different classroom.
Right, right.
That will be a different classroom.
Indeed.
The one thing which online, if it is only online, which we're missing, and you, Gohar, know very well because you deal with the outcome of that, is that lack of socialization. The kids are not together. They have no, in the school, you know, when the lesson is over, they go together, they chat, they have a snack together, they prepare for the exam together in a group, or maybe just the two of them. You know, there is this togetherness, this something which is so human. We all have it in our genes.
Right.
It stopped. And the children, because of the longer period of time, started to feel it. There is a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
Maybe even anger. Because I can't talk. I can't even talk to my teacher.
Yes, Miss Margo.
Have more of a, at least basic know how this lack of lost friendships. Affects our children, and we need to help the parents notice it. Don't be frustrated, don't be angry with the child, to understand, to create more of the family oriented activities, which can in a sense substitute for a time what is happening, you know, only online for your children. There is also another way which we very successfully tried it this year, and I even have had an email from one parent just yesterday thanking us for that. Our teachers from different disciplines create fun activities, including sports, exercises, yoga, but also creative activities, you know, robotics, doing some things, you know, painting, music. Okay, writing competition. The children can see that, yes, we're doing it at home, but we're doing it with a group of other kids, and we're doing the similar activities we had at school. So it's not that bad. Okay. And that will be, you know, one of my messages, you know, let's not get frustrated. Let's embrace this new way which pandemic offered us. We looked at the pandemic mostly, and again, it is human, from all the negative aspects. I would hope that we
Indeed.
as an adults and then help younger generation, I and my team help my students to see the opportunities. What can be good out of it? What can I learn, which I then can use it when the pandemic will be over? Because the short sessions for 60 minutes are from all over the world, from the top specialists, top experts in the world, younger and older. For us, adults, and for students, for example, in the high school, they should be taking an advantage. All of this is free. All of this pandemic opened it to us.
Indeed.
We have a
Indeed.
beautiful ways of spending time. You, Gohar, know this, and probably you use it. I'm encouraging my staff and my students, the seniors, to do it. These are free of charge, free tours of museums, of zoos,
Right.
of famous zoos, like in San Diego Zoo in the United States.
Right.
Look how gorgeous. We don't need to go to those places any longer. Those places are coming to us, to our homes, and to our classrooms.
Great. I think it's a big opportunity, big time opportunity for the people from any sphere of life, whether a student or a teacher or just a parent or an adult, to utilize these free online tutorials, access to libraries, access to museums, zoos, and so many places, which is now being offered as a part of their contribution to the society. Otherwise, it takes lots and lots of money to travel and to stand in the queue, buy the ticket, then go there. And then you cannot do it in one day. Those big museums or libraries or zoo or Disneyland, for that matter, it requires a couple of days, in fact. So this is a great opportunity for learning. And the aspect which I am really excited, I am utilizing it, I would say, to my benefit, is there are so many universities, Ivy League universities, Harvard Business School and Harvard Medical School are offering free courses or courses with nominal fee, like $25 or $30. I got enrolled in Yale University, the positive psychology course, the happiness course, one of the most sought after course in the world. That is great that we are having an opportunity to go into those resources which were very limited and far between because of the time, duration, availability. So many factors are now available, and those courses, those opportunities are there. You can record it, you can store it, you can walk into it once again. It's there. That treasure trove is there for life, for those who are seeking that, treasure hunters who are looking for those opportunities. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Ms. Margo. It was a pleasure talking to you. And in fact, this is a great opportunity, great opportunity to go through your life, through your eyes, and listen to you, what you went through in your life and how you overcome the challenges coming from Eastern European countries, then working in America in those times when things were not as friendly and congenial, and people were not welcomed from that part of the world to especially to US, and then in Middle East, Africa, and now in Pakistan. I think this session will be very useful for not only for your students, for your students' parents, as well for the other viewers who will be viewing it later tonight, I'm sure, and maybe some tomorrow as well, because it's going to be there on my Facebook page as well as yours, for the people to view it as many times as per their convenience, to learn from it the knowledge we have shared in between and what we have learned from Miss Margo Abdul Aziz, Director, International School, Choueifat. Thank you once again. My pleasure to host you in Coffee with Gohar. Look forward to do it in real time, sometime, whenever time permits.
Thank you, Gohar. Thank you for this opportunity to have such a relaxed conversation, and sharing, and giving me the opportunity to maybe to friends or even maybe my students and my parents to see me from the other perspective than meeting me in my office in the school. As a person, as someone who is very, very much concerned about their children, someone who considers oneself to be very fortunate to end up in Pakistan.
Great. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
And take care.
Thank you.
Stay safe, stay blessed.
Stay safe.
And stay home. During Eid holiday, especially. Stay home.
Definitely during the holiday. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless. Thank you. Thank you very much. And guys, thanks for joining in and viewing it. See you next time with another episode of Coffee with Gohar. See you next time. Thank you. Khuda Hafiz.